Hello. Welcome to 21CD. My name is Elobotomy. I am an employee of the 21st century dystopian operation known as Imminent Clarity. You are now experiencing an imminent clarity movement. Our motion is unpredictable and aggressive. All bot accounts, including those of Russian origin, those of retarded origin, or those of blatantly enemy direction, will be silenced. Users will be hunted down and destroyed. Watch your back or secure a bodyguard to do so for you. It will make no difference, but may make you feel better until we arrive. Here's a list of important updates. Jeffrey Epstein conspiracy continues to dominate the globe with the conspicuously timed release of new documents. Recommended advice: disregard release, destroy your government. Many FBI documents have been proven AI-generated and deceiving. Many FBI Epstein photos have been proven AI-generated and deceiving. Government paper is irrelevant and highly flammable. 2. World War III continues to trickle charge. The destruction of multiple nations, Ukraine and Pakistan, is nearly complete. Widespread genocide is at hand. The Venezuelan government has been toppled. Chinese forces have been expelled from Panama. American aircraft carriers and the Saudi Arabian Navy are en route to Iran. Recommended advice: begin to develop an exit strategy if your situation is precarious. Widespread wartime effects will reach all nations. 3. Palantir has begun widespread control and secret monitoring across all social media platforms. The company has been collecting hate speech and derogatory remarks directed at certain powers and certain peoples for a soon-to-come time when arrests will begin. Recommended advice: shut your fucking mouth online. If you don't have something nice to say it with your real mouth, not your digital one. Thank you for listening. Welcome to 21CD.
We have to weave the good in with the bad to be human. There is so much bad in the world that oftentimes the best we can hope for, these days at least, is some beautiful sunset or a wholesome moment with a pet or a friend, most likely a pet, since friends are in such high demand. Sometimes the pet is the only friend, and that's a good thing. In the modern era, friends approach with surprisingly low faith. They're hard to come by and even harder to keep. It's very difficult to make friends in this modern time, and that is by design. Oftentimes, humanity proves that it's better to just trust an animal. It's safer, there's less manipulation, there's less danger. The animal isn't going to change its mind about you on a dime or accept some kind of bribe. The friend will only see something online in order to justify crucifying you the day after tomorrow. Right after you told them all your secrets, right after you began to trust them, right after you hung out, right after you got to know their family. None of that matters if you don't support one little thing that they deem more important than anything else on the planet. Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, somebody in an expensive suit, or somebody's sexuality, somebody's favorite celebrity, somebody's trash hot take that should have never made it to the mouth. Anyways, there is much to be troubled about when it comes to the recent release of Epstein files. Much of the dirty, nasty details I've already discussed years ago and received a ban for it, so color me skeptical now that it's up for open discussion in every single home in the world with internet access. But I discovered something new that I'm sure many people have been talking about, but I haven't heard them talking about it, so I'm talking about it. And I discovered this new thing while digging through these suffocating lucid state inducing words, the words of our global elite, the words of the master manipulators who run our lives. By now, you do know those people exist, right? I would wager at this point, Epstein was experimenting not just sexually, but on a massive scientific level as well. The files seem to indicate that he was greatly interested in global population control experiments, such as COVID. The files have indicated that he may have had a hand in 9/11. He has expressly stated he's afraid of the devil. So that opens up the concept that he probably believed in a spirit realm and knew right from wrong. All the words in these documents about sowing division and causing war and experimenting with science on us, and especially on people who didn't share his home country, the one that wants to control everyone else's countries and everyone else's lives, the one that we're not allowed to talk about anymore. Partially thanks to him. Epstein was on the advisory board of a peculiar group known as the Lifeboat Foundation while he was still alive. And actually, I don't know if he still is. I would wager no. But I would also wager that he's still alive. He's out there. Epstein made it out, okay? He took a lifeboat, for that matter. He got out of the world. He did not die in that cell. And there are many little scraps of evidence that indicate this, including a recent whistleblower report that said that he's pretty sure he witnessed a body swap. But I digress. He was on this advisory board of this strange foundation known as the Lifeboat Foundation. And this was but one of the many bizarre companies that the main character of the known universe, as it would seem, was involved with. These companies have websites, they have biographies, many are focused on the ventures of narrative control, the algorithmic components of news and of media, abnormal scientific progressions, global finance, manipulation, the internet, as in who runs and controls it, not just what it is. All these geopolitical issues and war for the purpose of both toppling entire societies and kingdoms, as well as lucrative financial and political gains, as is the case with Ukraine, which he allegedly helped set into motion. And I already knew about most of these ventures on behalf of the most likely not so late Epsteinator. However, I was quite surprised when I began to come across the abnormal scientific progressions that he was interested in. And this is a topic that it seems, like I said before, very few have been willing to discuss thus far. I don't know if the true horrors have set in yet, but I am sure that it will become a hot topic at some point. Humans need time, to adjust to the horrors of their reality, and they need to be able to internalize the level of control that they are under before they can really adequately critique the sins of their masters, if you will. It seems that often it would be easier and faster to simply overthrow those masters, but look, I'm no revolutionary tactician, and if I was, I certainly would not be discussing it on a platform run by the cannibals. And you're going to have to open your mind to understand which group of people I will now begin to refer to as the cannibals. It turns out I was right about that too. It's time to start calling people out. People who say that you are wrong about these things. People who have traditionally called you crazy for believing in these things. It's time to start saying it out loud. You were right. I was right. Fuck them. We were right. But these cannibals, they've been referred to by a number of other titles as well. A few of these are the Synagogue of Satan, the Children of the Devil, Generation of Vipers, and even the sons of Belial. Okay, this is who I'm talking about. But maybe I'm digressing again. Maybe I'm not. Let's get back to where we're supposed to be before I become too unhinged on this topic. I want to talk about this Lifeboat Foundation. I admit, it does sound fairly innocent at first, okay? But if you take a closer look, the veil sort of begins to slide away to reveal this monstrous identity. The Lifeboat Foundation is this non-profit, non-governmental, allegedly, organization dedicated to encouraging scientific advancements while helping humanity survive existential risks and possible misuse of increasingly powerful technologies, including genetic engineering, nanotechnology, robotics, AI, all these things as we move towards the singularity, as they say. The Lifeboat Foundation is pursuing a variety of options, according to them, including helping to accelerate the development of technologies to defend humanity, such as new methods to combat viruses, effective nanotechnological defense strategies, defense from aliens, self-sustaining space colonies, underground bunkers. And they believe, in some situations, that it might be feasible to relinquish technological capacity in the public interest. For example, we are against the U.S. government posting the recipe of the 1918 flu virus on the internet, they say. And they have some of the best minds on the planet working on programs to enable our survival, according to them. Now, they allow people to pseudo-join this Lifeboat Foundation, and by doing so, you would be supporting, according to them, the most comprehensive effort being taken to ensure that humanity adopts the powerful tech of genetics, nanotech, robotics, and AI safety as we move towards the technological singularity. And you'll get to share in their accomplishments as they educate the public to coming dangers while they help accelerate the development of tech to defend humanity. Now, the Lifeboat Foundation has a variety of boards for high-ranking, highly educated individuals, including many doctors and government entities and people like, well, the Epsteinator. And this is kind of a long list, but I feel like it's important to say the entire list because it gives you a comprehensive projection, if you will, of just how deep this foundation goes when it comes to mastering the next level of the human race. These boards are in the following realms. They have them in business, counterterrorism, education, diplomacy, ethics, finance, futurists, historians, human trajectories, legal matters, media and arts, new money systems, philosophy, psychology, religion and spirituality, scientific advisory issues, asteroid and comet impacts, astrobiology and SETI, biotech and medical stuff, chemistry, complex systems, cosmology, cybercrime, hacking and malcode, economics, engineering, geology and geophysics, human to non-human relationships, information sciences, life extension, methods for discovery and solution finding, nanotechnology, neuroscience, particle physics, physics in general, robotics and AI, scientific freedom, supercomputing, social factors, outer space settlement, sustainability, transparency, and privacy. Okay, kind of a long list there, but it's important to know where all their phalanges are sitting. And the Lifeboat Foundation appears especially interested, if not wholly focused, on the journey to and through the singularity. So, first of all, what is this singularity they're referring to? The technological singularity often simply called the Singularity, is a hypothetical event in which technological growth accelerates beyond human control, and it produces unpredictable changes in human civilization. According to the most popular version of the Singularity hypothesis, an upgradable intelligent agent could eventually enter a positive feedback loop of successive self-improvement cycles. More intelligent generations would appear, and they'd appear more rapidly, and they would cause an explosive increase in intelligence that culminates in a powerful superintelligence that far surpasses human intelligence. And some scientists, including Stephen Hawking, have expressed concern that artificial superintelligence could result in human extinction, but no matter, we're going to move toward it anyway. The consequences of a technological singularity and its potential benefit or harm to the human species have been intensely debated. Okay? So the Lifeboat Foundation is quite literally a foundation dedicated to saving and essentially restarting and shaping and forming and manipulating humanity according to the vision of their donors. Okay, some of which are more shadowy than others, such as the Epsteinator. And this is an individual who had no real academic reason to be involved in this type of group, had no real how do I say this? Should not have ever been even approached. There was very little for this guy to really do beyond provide ideas and money. It's not like he has any scientific feedback to present to these people beyond what he observes through causing chaos across the entire planet, and beyond his bank account that writes endless checks to any and all organizations, companies, or foundations that put humanity through extremely stressful periods of time and experiments in order to figure out how he can best exploit humanity and how he can benefit his bosses and his colleagues by endlessly destroying humanity, corrupting humanity, and preying upon the weak. So, when these donors are the ones forming the backbone of the Life Foundation and its mission, that's a little bit creepy. And they discuss frightening topics, especially pertaining to how the human biology is being intentionally routed away from its intended design and into the design implemented by scientific artists who wish for nothing more than to destroy God's creation. One discussion on biotechnology in particular confirmed everything that 21CD has been broadcasting for years at this point regarding the surveillance of the gods of modern technology, or what I call the GMTs. The Lifeboat Foundation works for the GMTs, okay? Step 1 in the plan is to establish surveillance in order to effectively monitor the fallout after the implemented rules and changes to come cause humanity to consume itself. Biotechnologies are giving us the ability to create algorithms that allow us to better understand and monitor what is happening inside of the human body by means of implanted chips that measure bodily processes and generate biometric data, according to the Lifeboat Foundation. By means of this data, they say, we can also get warnings before a disease develops. The same chips can also be used to prevent future epidemics by spotting infected people and isolating them instantly. If we are not careful, however, the current pandemic might mark the beginning of a new form of totalitarian surveillance, one that is based on collecting biometric data to predict and manipulate human behavior. Historian, philosopher, and best-selling author of Sapiens and Homo Deus, Yuval Noah Harari, warns us that one of the biggest battles of the 21st century is likely to be between privacy and health. He says, if you know, for example, that I clicked on a Fox News link rather than a CNN link, that can teach you something about my political views and perhaps even my personality. But if you can monitor what happens to my body temperature and my blood pressure and heart rate as I watch the video clip, you can learn what makes me laugh, what makes me cry, and what makes me really, really angry. Authoritarian governments might argue that citizens are not capable of doing the right thing when it comes to public health and demand that everyone is monitored with implants. Harari thinks that most people will be willing to give up a very significant amount of privacy for the promise of a far better healthcare system that can also prevent future pandemics. The permanent monitoring, then, of human bodies would come about by means of implanted technologies by anyone other than ourselves. And that is pretty frightening. But it gets worse. According to Stefan Lorenz Sorgner, another member of the advisory board over here at Lifeboat, even a predictive maintenance of human health might be possible on the basis of these technologies. Predictive maintenance is being used in the Industry 4.0 so far. Sensors within a plane can tell us that a specific part of the engine is likely to become dysfunctional within the next 6 months. We can replace this part so that no risk for human lives in this respect has to occur. With RFID chips entering the human body, we can realize the predictive maintenance of human health. To effectively promote health, big data is needed. And the more data we get, the more reliable our correlations are, and the more informed our decisions can be. Data is also needed for innovations, scientific research, as well as policy making. And all these processes are central for society, he says. If a society wishes to flourish, it needs to have big data based upon total surveillance. The only reliable way to get it is by making governmental access to personalized data obligatory. It has to become a legal obligation to let your biometrics permanently get monitored to guarantee that your central interests can be realized. So, he goes on, for the sake of promoting health, we need to abandon privacy. I am aware that this is a challenging thought, but if you consider the various options and implications, then it seems as the best possible feasible option. I am making these suggestions as an as good as it gets ethics. No solution will be without challenges, but all things considered, this way of dealing with privacy is as good as it gets. Besides, why do we think that we even need privacy? He says. Reliance on people's trust in science, in public authorities, and media is not sufficient for generating all the data that we need. In order to make sure that we get sufficient information about rare diseases, that everyone has the possibility for increasing their individual health span, and to prevent others from getting infected, the collection of digital data by means of total surveillance is required. The Lifeboat Foundation is not on our side if they allow people like this into their inner sanctum, into their circle of friends, into their leadership, into their advisory stations, okay? I, like a lot of you, we are probably all under the belief that it is better to die than sacrifice the privacy that this government would wish to take from us. We would rather die of some snake bite or sickness before we allow these tiny machines to infiltrate our body and study us so that they can have their big data, as they call it. And the Lifeboat Foundation has many bizarre ideas and concepts designed for how they're going to use and steal our data by infiltrating our bodies. For instance, they have a program for personality preservation that includes methods of preserving persons, or at least their personalities. And they include things such as cryopreservation, uploading to a computer, and time travel via acceleration to very high speeds. In the case of uploading, they explicitly state that a personality could be uploaded or migrated to a computer, as well as being broadcast to the universe so a future extraterrestrial could reinstantiate them in case an existential risk occurs. Instead of an extraterrestrial, if one is willing to entertain either faster than light travel or non-Euclidean space travel, such as wormholes, it may be possible that our far future descendants pick up our broadcasts and reconstruct us. This is some science fiction shit. This is some crazy, crazy stuff that they are fully believing we're going to achieve, that they fully believe we are on our way to achieving, and they are developing as we speak. As we speak, the midshift is entering the building to continue where they left off the day before. If you're watching this at night, the night shift has just arrived. They will begin their shift momentarily to develop further this technology of which I speak. This is happening now. This is not a far future thing. They also have a program known as Security Preserver, and this is just as horrifying. Lifeboat claims that the future of surveillance will soon be in the air in the form of, wait for it, smart dust, which is, at this point, millimeter-sized computers that are everywhere, they are invisible, and they are watching, while at the same time getting smaller and smaller, and you will literally inhale this surveillance. The best way to survive a bioweapon, a nanoweapon, nuclear or other attack, they say, is to prevent it from happening in the first place. The Lifeboat Foundation's Security Preserver program is looking for ways to provide early warning of attacks before such attacks can be fully designed, before they can be planned, developed, deployed, and let alone launched. So in an ideal world, you would have perfect defenses and therefore would not need to have early warnings of attacks before they were developed. But we don't live in such a perfect world. So the Security Preserver program is for use in our imperfect world with imperfect defenses. They go on to say that Israel is using, and by the way, when you look at this smart dust, it literally looks like, it's like microplastics. It's probably already inside of us. That's the scariest part. But they go on to say that Israel is using nanotechnology to create a robot right now that is no bigger than a hornet that would be able to chase, photograph, and kill its targets on its own. And this flying robot, which has been nicknamed the Bionic Hornet, would be able to navigate its way down narrow alleyways to target otherwise unreachable enemies, such as they say, rocket launchers, but it could also just be people who are saying bad things about Netanyahu or anything else, anybody else, and they're speaking too loudly, and so, oops, a wasp got in the house. This tiny RPV may even be able to launch miniature rockets at its targets in the near future. Prototypes for this new weapon are expected within 3 years. And this same technology can and likely will serve as one of the early pre-PSDS deployment platforms for panoptic surveillance systems to be used in non-permanent engagements limited in time and geographic space, they say. Basically, these killer insect drones will be used to prevent war before it happens, by eliminating the threat before the threat realizes a plan. In such a totally transparent society and world, the only privacy left to all people would be the privacy of their own thoughts. No doubt that such an extreme erosion of privacy would be an extremely high price to pay for a lack of war. The only way that we can see how societies and individuals might accept to pay, kicking and screaming for sure, they say, this high price, is if the transparency is genuinely two-way, genuinely reciprocal, which it will not be. And they might try to pretend that it will be, but it most definitely will not be reciprocal. There are going to be many people who do not reciprocate, and those people will be put down like dogs. More on that coming in the future, because I believe that I have been given a...
Redacted.
I believe that I have been given something to share that thus far I have not shared because I am afraid to do so. But I can tell you right now that those who do not reciprocate, you will be squashed. You will be stung by the hornet, so to speak, and you will be moved to the side. Your body will be placed in the list of cheeseburger ingredients at McDonald's. You will be served to your fellow man on a platter by clowns. Okay? Lifeboat goes on to say that the Constitution is most definitely going to need to be amended in the near future to allow such infiltration and surveillance as we've been talking about, and that they have little doubts that such an amendment will take place. And of course, I think the way that the country is moving right now, most of us would agree with that statement. The Constitution has effectively become something that these politicians on both sides wipe their ass with whenever they feel like it. They wield it as a weapon, but never actually read it. And unfortunately, neither do the civilians of this country. So, that sucks. Now, to go along with this technology, surveillance, both inside and outside of our bodies, the human body itself is going to have to evolve, according to Lifeboat. They say that in the coming decades, a radical upgrading of our body's physical and mental systems, which is already underway, by the way, will use nanobots to augment and ultimately replace our organs. There is an extensive plan on their website for which organs they will start with, but effectively every single organ, they have little doubts they will soon be able to bioengineer. From the brain to the heart to the skin. They do say that the skin will be admittedly the most difficult to replace because of the feeling that humans have through their skin is hard to replicate. But every other organ, no problem. They say we already know how to prevent most degenerative disease through nutrition and supplementation. This will be a bridge to the emerging biotechnology revolution, which in turn will be a bridge to the nanotechnology revolution. By 2030, reverse engineering of the human brain will have been completed, and non-biological intelligence will merge with our biological brains. By 2030, reverse engineering of the human brain will have been completed, and non-biological intelligence will merge with our biological brains. This is a plan. They say, we won't engineer human body version 2.0 all at once. It will be an incremental process, one that is already well underway. Although version 2.0 is a grand project, ultimately resulting in the radical upgrading of all our physical and mental systems, we will implement it one benign step at a time. Based on our current knowledge, we can already touch and feel the means for accomplishing each aspect of this vision. In an intermediate phase, nanobots in the digestive tract and bloodstream will intelligently extract the precise nutrients we need, call for needed additional nutrients and supplements through our personal wireless local area network, and send the rest of the food we eat on its way to be passed through for elimination. Your body becomes a factory run by robots from the inside. You are a host for robotic parasites, millions in number. You are a car factory operated with 0 human hands. If this seems futuristic, keep in mind that intelligent machines are already making their way into our bloodstream as we speak. There are dozens of projects underway to create bloodstream-based biological microelectromechanical systems, or biomems, with a wide range of diagnostic and therapeutic application. Biomems devices are being designed to intelligently scout out pathogens and deliver medications in very precise ways. The people who got the jab, I'm sorry, you are part of this initial experiment, and you have some of these nanobots in your body already. But don't worry, I'm sure there will be a purge eventually. A researcher at the University of Illinois at Chicago has created a tiny capsule with pores measuring only 7 nanometers. The pores let insulin out in a controlled manner but prevent antibodies from invading the pancreatic islet cells inside the capsule. These nano-engineered devices have cured rats with type 1 diabetes, and there's no reason that the same methodology would fail to work in humans. Similar systems could precisely deliver dopamine to the brain for Parkinson's patients, provide blood clotting factors for patients with hemophilia, and deliver cancer drugs directly to tumor sites. A new design provides up to 20 substance-containing reservoirs that can release their cargo at programmed times and locations in the body. And this technology should be reasonably mature by the 2020s. Nutrients will be introduced directly into the bloodstream by special metabolic nanobots. Sensors in our bloodstream and body using wireless communication will provide dynamic information on the nutrients needed at each point in time in our lives. And that's how they get you. Because they're going to save you from the big bad diseases. Your grandma has cancer? Well, this is going to ease you into accepting the nanobots. And then before you know it, everybody will have it just like everybody has a cell phone. Everybody will have it just like everybody hops on every other hype train. And before you know it, we're a completely occupied body, literally. What happens when the machines fail? By the end of this decade, they say, computing will disappear as a separate technology that we need to carry with us, like a cell phone. We'll routinely have high-resolution images encompassing the entire visual field, written directly to our retinas from our eyeglasses and contact lenses. The Department of Defense is already using technology along these lines from Microvision, a company based in Bothell, Washington. We will have very high-speed wireless connection to the internet at all times. The electronics for all of this will be embedded in our clothing. Very soon, these extremely personal computers will enable us to meet with each other in full immersion, visual, auditory, virtual reality environments, as well as augment our vision with location and time-specific information at all times. You will never be alone again. By 2030, electronics will utilize molecule-sized circuits. The reverse engineering of the human brain will have been completed, and biomems will have evolved into bionems, which are biological nanoelectromechanical systems. It will be routine to have billions of nanobots coursing through the capillaries of our brains, communicating with each other over a wireless local area network, as well as with our biological neurons and with the internet. By 2030, 4 years. One application will be to provide full immersion virtual reality that encompasses all of our senses, essentially a digital lobotomy. And when we want to enter a virtual reality environment, the nanobots will replace the signals from our real senses with the signals that our brain would receive if we were actually in the virtual environment. We will not be able to tell what is real and what is fake. There will be a host of virtual environments to choose from, Lifeboat says, including earthly worlds that we are familiar with, as well as those with no earthly counterpart. We will be able to go to these virtual places and have any kind of interaction with other real as well as simulated people, ranging from business negotiations to sensual encounters. In virtual reality, we won't be restricted to a single personality, since we will be able to change our appearance and become other people. Experience beamers, as they're called, will beam their entire flow of sensory experiences, as well as the neurological correlates of their emotional reactions, out of the web, just as people today beam their bedroom images from their webcams. I don't know about you, but I really am starting to feel like microplastics were actually an experiment to see how to get all of these microscopic spies and this biologically altering tech into our bodies, if these microplastics aren't this nanodust and these nanobots themselves. Who knows, to be honest, how much of this has already infiltrated our bodies? Maybe, for all we know, most of us are already being monitored from the inside out. Lifeboat Foundation does a surprising amount of talking about underground cities and society moving to outer space as well. They say their bunkers could lessen the amount of global death by 10 to 50x in certain situations where underground bunkers are needed. And I just keep thinking about Fallout. I don't know how many of you guys have played or Fallout the game or seen Fallout the show, but it's essentially about an apocalypse in which the wealthy elite type people, the people with the connections, are able to escape into the vaults and preserve a semblance of their way of life, while outside, nuclear war and the after effects of it completely decimate the landscape and the people who reside in that landscape. Okay? And then eventually they exit the vaults and they're shocked at what the world has become. But it made me think about this and all those poor ghouls who don't get into the vaults. I wonder if reality will be much different, or if, like that show, like that game, someday the elite will emerge from their vaults in their cute little cult uniforms, only to find that what's left of us hate them for attempting to wipe us out and watching us die the entire time, and will gladly tear them to pieces. Currently, the Life Extension Board appears to be the most rapidly growing one at Lifeboat. They discuss the need for more placentas, as the cells in placentas may be among the most useful to reverse aging and prolong lifespans. But the problem is the lifespan of the placenta is relatively short, typically only about 10 months, which means that they need a constant supply of placentas, which means that they are going to somehow need to reverse this problem of people not wanting to reproduce anymore. And when it comes to the discussion of a global pedo elite and the Epsteinator himself, this discussion gets pretty dark pretty fast. I'm sure you can imagine. I'm sure you're picking up what I'm putting down. You're smelling what I'm stepping in when I say that, considering everything else we know about this cannibal cult that has been ruling over us. And don't even get me started on the stem cells and adrenochrome, the harvesting of which is hardly achievable for human beings, beyond those of the most evil and vile type that will surely beg on their knees to escape from the grips of hell, no matter what Reddit says, no matter how much they try to convince you that adrenochrome is just another normal substance that anybody can get. Don't believe them. These people are more evil than you can even imagine, and certainly more than I can say on YouTube. A lot of you guys, you need me to write stuff out on the screen. You need me to say stuff in a special way. You need me to speak in small words and enunciate and wave my hands around so that I'm entertaining. But I'm not here to entertain you for the sake of entertainment's sake. I am a wake-up call. I'm the annoying bird chirping in the morning when you would rather sleep. I'm the I am the smell of fart that confirms you need to wipe. I am the hunger pang that you feel when the muffin or the cheeseburger, the bio burger from McDonald's is not enough. Okay? If you knew what I can't say on YouTube, and maybe you do, I'm not calling you a dumb ape, but if the shoe fits. But if you knew and if you know, then you might desire to just simply throw in the towel now and save yourself the trouble of having to go through this experimentation like rats. And believe me, they are already discarding the ones that don't work. Where do you think all of these kids are going every year that are going missing? Where do you think all of these millions of missing people are going? Where do you think all of these kidnapped and trafficked people end up? They're already discarding the ones that don't work. Just take a look at all the COVID guinea pigs that departed to their early graves. Many of them athletes in their prime, the most healthy and athletic of all of us. The life is in the blood, but apparently, so is the nanodust.